If you love the look of stone planters but not the price tag, first, I split the pool noodles in half lengthwise. Each noodle gives you 2 rows of texture for the planter, so you don't need a ton of them. I removed the handle from a 5-gallon bucket and started attaching the noodles using Gorilla Glue construction adhesive. To keep everything in place while the glue dried, I used painter's tape as a temporary hold. To get that rough stone-like finish, I applied joint compound over the entire surface and let it dry overnight. This step really transforms the look. Once dry, I did a light sanding, but honestly, I could have probably skipped this step. Then I applied 1 coat of white primer before going in with Rust-Oleum Stone spray paint for that final realistic stone finish, and that's it.
Get the look for less with this brilliant hack. I grabbed a plastic pot from the dollar store and covered it in spackle. I used a putty knife to spread it and left it uneven for a textured look. While I was waiting for it to dry, I printed and cut out a leaf shape on paper. When the spackle was completely dry, it turned white. I spray painted it a chalky gray color. After that dried, I spray painted over top of the stencil with the stone textured spray paint. I did this all the way around the pot, and I decided to add a bit more textured spray paint over the whole thing.
To get started, we are going to be using spackling. So I'm just taking a simple spackling knife. We're gonna spread it on all over the pot. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna do like a stamping technique using chicken wires. You wanna just kind of press it in all over, and then we're gonna remove it. And you can see here where it's just gonna give it a little bit of almost like a beehive look to it. So we're gonna go ahead and let them dry. I'm using an indoor-outdoor spray paint by Rust-Oleum, and this color is heirloom white. So now that we have both coats of the spray paint dry, I'm going to go in and I want to add some of this multicolor texture by Rust-Oleum.
2 blue buckets that I found at Dollar Tree, cutting the handles off, glue them together. I'm stacking my other bowl on top of it. We're gonna take our pool noodles and we're gonna start cutting them in half, putting enough glue and then holding the pool noodle in place to form the shape. I'm taking caulk, adding it to the indentations between my pool noodles, but I'm just gonna be painting this entire thing white. Stone spray paint, and we are going to spray it.
You're not going to believe what I do with this vegetable oil. I added ready mix, concrete mix, peat moss, perlite, and water together and mixed well to create a thick concrete mixture. If you roll it into a ball, it should stick together and then you know it's ready. Next, I oiled the inside of a 20-liter bucket using the vegetable oil, and I carefully packed the concrete into the bucket on the bottom and then worked my way up the sides. I went up about 8 inches and it was about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thickness. After it dried for 24 hours, I flipped the bucket upside down to take it out, and I used a small wire brush with water to smooth around the top edge and remove any loose dirt and dust around the sides and bottom. Then I used a sponge to apply brown, antique white, and gray acrylic paint around the outside, top, and inside edge of the concrete and blended with a bit of water.
This plastic dollar store planter needs a makeover. Now that the paint is quite thick, a quick sanding with a sanding block, I want to cover the entire planter except the bottom. I want to brush on some dark gray paint. I want to add a little white. Finally, I want to seal the planter with a clear coat. It's time to fill my planter with potting soil.
I completely transformed this thrifted lampshade into the most beautiful home decor. I removed the shade so it was just the wire frame. I used a utility knife to scrape off the glue. Then I sanded the wire frame with sandpaper and steel wool. I wiped clean and then spray painted it matte black. While it was drying, I sanded a wood round, wiped it clean, and sealed it with gloss spray Varathane. I applied 5 coats and then sprayed the last coat with satin Varathane. I pre-drilled and screwed the wire frame and wood round together.
Today's project is going to require some clothespins and a small bucket. The clothespins are easy to take apart. All we have to do is use some hot glue. We're going to do that with multiple amounts all the way around. Now on the bottom, I'll grab some rope from Dollar Tree, put a little bit of hot glue, push it in place. Just keep going all the way around Now it comes time for staying. Next, we need a wood or plastic hanger. I took a square, put it against the inside edge, and marked 90 degrees. We're actually going to cut on this line. Once we do that, turn your bucket over, and then we're going to hot glue our legs on. If we do 4 of these across from each other, it makes it nice and steady and stable. Put one of those last bits of rope that I have on there, bring it around to the front, and I'm going to tie a knot on it.
Who doesn't have a dozen cardboard boxes piling up in their recycle bin? I decided it was time to put mine to use. I started with my largest box. Using my slice box opener, I started by removing all 4 flaps of the box. Once all the flaps were removed, it was time to make a mini box. I secured the long sides with duct tape and began assembling the smaller box. Using duct tape to secure all 4 sides and bottom together, I placed it inside and got started mixing concrete. I also tried adding 2 wooden dowels to later drill out for drainage holes. If you are recreating this project, be sure to line your box with packing tape for easy removal. After waiting 48 hours, just to be safe, I removed the cardboard to reveal my large planter box. After drilling out the dowel holes in the bottom and giving my entire planter a sand to remove any jagged edges,
I'm going to turn my foam ring over here and I'm going to use some contact cement and I'm going to put that all around the edge of my plate and attach it to the bottom of this ring. And I want to attach the other foam rings on top with whatever you choose to use to get some texture. You want to go ahead and you want to just put that texture all over. I'm just going to use some Fusion Mineral Paint in raw silk to paint your foam and the plate. My planters are ready to fill.
Grab a couple plastic planters and bowls. I'm starting with 2 plastic planters. I'm going to place one upside down and then use a really strong glue like E6000. On top of this planter, I'm going to add a bowl. And then we're going to put another bowl upside down on top of that. And then finally a second planter on top. I'm using just regular acrylic paint. Then I'm going to add some baking soda. This is going to give a matte, chalky finish that looks a little bit like stone. Now I can just use a wide brush and paint this on to the plastic.
Grab some pots, plants, and rebar from your local home improvement store. Start by placing a generous layer of rocks or gravel, then fill your pots with your selected plants. Once your plants are potted, begin stacking your pots. Insert the rebar into the bottom pot, making sure it comes through the drainage hole at the bottom and rests on the saucer.
I scooped up this metal filing cabinet from Facebook Marketplace. I took it out of my van and I put it up on some raised ladders and I removed all the drawers. Then I'm going to come in with this rust paint and I'm going to paint the entire filing cabinet. Then I'm going to use my drill and I'm going to drill in some holes in the bottom. To weight it down, I'm going to be putting in 2 bags of pea stone gravel. Then I'm going to go to my yard and I collected all these old leaves. This is great because I'm going to fill up the bulk of the cabinet with the leaves. So I fill it up till there's about a quarter left at the top, and then I fill that last quarter with my potting mix. Then I'm going to go ahead and plant in my flowers.
I'm going to grab this trash can, take the top off, we'll use that later, and I'm also going to grab a rubber stair tread. Now I'm going to use a really strong adhesive to attach the stair tread or the doormat around the trash can. This is going to need to set to dry for about 24 hours. So I'm using clamps and some twine to hold everything in place. Now that everything is dry, I can remove the clamps and the rope. I want to make this look a little bit antique, so I am using a silver rub and buff. I am going to put some drainage holes in this, and I am going to use a wood burning tool. I can flip the lid upside down and place it in the top of the trash can. And now I can fill the top with soil and plants.